Are we passing through the dark night of the soul? Or what is actually happening here? Sometimes we don't know, but we want to know and we want to make sense of all this journey. So I'm here to share with you some insight that I've had to gain along the way, along my journey, and really recognizing that yes, we are passing through the dark night of the soul as a collective and as individuals, and how important it is that we are recognizing our individual paths, not just being caught up and lost in what's happening or not happening in this planet here right now, to not be distracted by it, to not be fooled by it, but instead to be honoring our own paths and really understanding what we're needing to do in our own lives as we heal and awaken to the love that we are. So if you're ready to walk with me, my name is James, and we're going to head down this great path here on this beautiful half sunny day. So let's go. So you'll notice the dark night of the soul feeling very, very difficult. It gives us these feelings that we can't go on, we can't go past, we can't go through. Seems impossible because it's confronting our core beliefs of what's possible, what's not, and our limiting thoughts that we've been raised with and programmed with. So we have to be able to find the courage and the strength to hold on, to stay on our path, and to not give in to these fears, these doubts, these voices, these stories. So we have to deepen our ability to trust and be in faith. So I can share with you very clearly that there's like this tunnel that we're passing through, and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and yet it seems so difficult, so scary. So of course, naturally, we want to pull back into what's familiar for us. And you'll notice that it's at that point where it seems most impossible and most difficult that in our ability to continue forward through that intensity, that everything transforms. But yet so often we get to that point and turn back, get to that point and want to turn back. So we never pass through the portal. And so this is a portal into the fifth dimensional reality. This is a portal into your personal ascension. And so it's your test, it's your initiation, it's your challenge, and it's the mission that you came here for, to prove to yourself that you can do this, and to do it not just for yourself, but for all of existence. Like, this is the game that you came here to play, and you're playing it, whether you realize it or not. This is what you chose to do, and now you're in it, and often forgetting that you're in it, often forgetting what it is you're actually doing and how fucking big it is. Like, it is incredibly big, incredibly powerful, incredibly important, you know? So we cannot undervalue the steps that we are taking, even the smallest step. If it feels really difficult for you, give it that awareness that it's a big step. And sometimes just existing through this transition, existing the best that we can, and our ability to sustain or survive is everything, and maybe all that you need to do as an individual. Maybe that's it. Maybe we just need to hold on. Maybe we just need to continue to ride through and trust and know that all is in perfection, all is in place. Maybe this is all that you're asked to do. Maybe you're asked to take some really clear steps that scare you. Maybe you're asked to take actions. Maybe you're asked to leave a job, leave a relationship, move to a place that's healthier for you or somewhere where you enjoy. There's real steps that life wants us to take. And so often we're afraid to take them, and we're holding ourselves back or feeling stuck and unable to transition like this. And so I encourage you to recognize that this is your soul's calling, potentially, to move forward in that direction that you're being asked to. And part of your initiation process in trusting that by taking those steps, that you will be supported in taking those steps by the universe, that you will be okay. And even furthermore, know that when you put yourself in a better place, life is so much more enjoyable, and we have so much more energy to put towards the things that actually matter. We're able to serve a greater purpose potentially, or experience the things that we actually enjoy doing in life. So there are steps that we all need to take in terms of how we choose to live in accordance with our values, in accordance to our purpose, and in accordance to not just what we need, but what future generations are needing here on our planet to live a better life than we are, not a worse life. So huge steps we're being asked to take. And so much we can get caught up in hoping and wishing that others are doing this work for us. And of course we need to trust that everyone is doing the best they can, but we need to come back to ourselves and recognize, what are we needing and wanting to do? What steps are we being called to take and needing to take? So we are not so lost in what's happening and distracting ourselves what's happening in this world, as we might be using this to avoid even taking action, like wishing that somebody is going to save us. And there's this saying that you are the one you've been waiting for, and it's this reminder that in a sense we need to save ourselves, in a sense like life's supporting us to deepen our faith and recognize our power as individuals, as creators. And so it's supporting us to come into this higher state of consciousness and awareness that we are one with God, or we are gods and goddesses, one's with source, one's with creator. And furthermore, to serve this purpose of co-creating a reality, a life that is based upon our core values and needs, to be in harmony with our planets and with everything that exists, ourselves and one another as family, to be at peace and to recognize the joy of our hearts and the love that shines through us. And of course the freedom that comes from this knowing, and the abundance that flows naturally from our planets as we live in relation with our planets and with all of creation. We receive the abundance. We live a life of riches and wealth that are not just of the material world, but of our time, our energy, our joy, our passion, our ability to enjoy time with our children and share the things that are most important with us and with them. So this is what it means to be rich. And if we're caught up in the world of riches, or the way that we were led to believe, the importance of being rich or successful and wanting more and more money, more and more this and that, then it's not really aligned actually with the laws of creation. Of course, the laws of creation are very abundant, and we are always being met with our needs, and in support for what we're needing here in life. And so there are natural forms of abundance, there are natural forms of love, and it's not distorted by sexuality, it's not distorted by all these concepts of what relationships should and shouldn't be. And we see in the movies or hear in the music this dependency, this love of dependency, and the pain and suffering that comes from it, and continuing these cycles. Like, we're able to break free of all of this, these patterns which are causing our own suffering. So it's like we've been programmed to suffer when you really come to see it. Like, we've been led to believe that certain things are important and that we must live in accordance to these ways. And the further we go on these paths, we get away from our nature and therefore suffer because of it. So we perpetuate our suffering and create the problems out of our own ways of thinking, but they're not even our ways of thinking. They're ideas and ways of thinking that have been given to us. So this is why it's really challenging to pass through this portal, is because all of these beliefs that have been ingrained in us at a young age are what hold us back. And at the same time, they're like what we've created our life upon. So it's all that we know. And so it's keeping us where we are. And even if it's creating the suffering or holding us back and not serving a purpose, it still takes a process and realization through our actions, and to consciously work through our fears and doubts over and over again, to deprogram and to reprogram and to realign with our actual nature, with like who we actually are as beings from the stars here on earth, from afar but so close with our hearts. We are still at home. And so we need to come home. We need to come to know the love of our hearts. We need to come to understand the ways of nature, in which creation is supporting us to be here now, supporting us fully and completely. Here we are, providing for us. Like, everything we have actually comes from life. It comes from creation. It comes from even this planet, Mother Earth. How incredible is this? It's so magical to exist. So coming back to understand life itself, who we are within this life, and the power that we hold to create life beyond any limitations that we've been raised with to believe in. It is a big step to realize these things for ourselves. It is a big process. So no more shall we be caught up in these limitations or stuck in what might be the darkness, the depth of this suffering that we find ourselves now in as humans, as everything is being brought to the surface as well in this moment. And if we are able to receive everything in faith, to know that everything supports us on our journeys. So if you can look at the greatest challenges that we faced or hardships, how they always tend to work out for the better if we're able and willing to hold on and trust, right? So everything works out for the better, and these challenges that we face are our greatest teachers. We learn the most from these most difficult challenges, So they're actually supporting us. So when they happen, or things happen in ways that we didn't want or weren't expecting, rather than resisting those experiences, we can retrain ourselves to appreciate them and even be amazed by them, or at least accept or do our best to trust that they are there for a reason, happening for a reason, and wanting to wait and give it time to see what those reasons are, because it's not until the end sometimes that it becomes clear. So again, our relation to the darkness, or this idea of passing through the dark night of our souls, is bringing everything to the light. Everything that we've been avoiding and not wanting to see has to be brought to the light. And it's a painful, seemingly painful process, but only if we're resisting. So if we're not resisting, it's a lot less painful actually. If we're doing our best to trust, it's a lot more enjoyable. It's a lot more possible to go through, because you're not getting lost resisting that experience. So trusting in the process is what's helping us go through it and gain what we're needing to gain from it. As everything's brought into the light, trusting its imperfection in the perfect ways, in the perfect time for us to receive this reflection, this experience, this part of our inner self being reflected back to us in the outer experience. It's time for us to look at, to feel, knowing that we have the capacity to process these things. Notice that life is in a process of evolution, of constant healing and awakening, constant letting go, dying to be born again, to die to be born again, to die to be born again. So we ourselves have to be able to learn how to work with and understand these cycles of life and death, life and death. And you'll notice that there are stages to these cycles, and one of the big stage working towards the death part is our ability to let go. To let go of the things that don't serve us, so that we can become lighter and then therefore be born again. So this stage is the hardest, because we have, as a culture, a really hard time letting go. We tend to hold on to things, far too long. We tend to even, in some case, compile things far too much. So we end up with so many material possessions and hoarding things, for example. Or, relationships, jobs, many things that we can just hold on to. And they're the things actually that stop us from going forward. So it's not that we're not able to move forward, it's that we're not able to let go and trust that by letting go, life will then support us to give us what we're needing and wanting actually in our life, because we've shown that we're ready for it. So this whole passing through the dark night of the soul really tests us to be willing to let go of everything. And right now it's so huge. It's like we've gone so far in one direction into the darkness that everything has to be released. We have to be willing to question every single thought that we have, every single belief, every word. Like, is this actually what I mean? Or what does this mean? What am I saying? We have common phrases and sayings that we use unconsciously, and essentially they're like spells that we're realizing we are saying to one another and to ourselves. So questioning every action even that we take. Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? And to be able to approach it in a lightful manner of exploration and curiosity and not of judgment and criticizing ourselves constantly for everything. As we become more aware, we want to become aware with love and compassion. And so, again, this is another component of passing through the dark night of the soul, is to bring in this patience, love, and compassion as we are parents to ourselves, having to support ourselves through the steps that we're taking and the things that we're feeling. So we're not getting stuck into the dark night of the soul or into our shadows because of us judging ourselves, criticizing ourselves, putting ourselves down in those situations, but bringing in love, patience, support like we would for a child. If a child is in a situation like this, you want to support them in a really gentle way. So naturally, for us as humans, we want to bring that sense of support and that gentleness to ourselves in relationship with ourselves, or of course in relationship to others who might be going through difficult times as well, as we're all challenged in our own ways in confronting the dark night of the soul, or the invitation to pass through this portal, which is very exciting and yet of course very scary. And we have the chance to live in ways that seem impossible. We've been led to believe that life is like this, and presented this box, this way of living, Monday to Friday, for example. This is what it is. And yet it's hard for us to live like this, for some of us more than others, because it's not natural to live in a box. Life is circular, cyclical, and it is flowing. So the box tends to stop the flow. And even if we appreciate being in a box sometimes because it feels comfortable, eventually it becomes quite suppressing and challenging to be in. So I believe like this box that we found ourselves in, we realized might be getting tighter and tighter with, say, the financial pressures. And we're needing to free ourselves to understand life beyond this box. How does it feel? How does it look? When we don't even know and it seems impossible, then, it's a big leap of passing through this dark night of the soul, passing through this portal, to come to learn about life. What does it mean to live? What does it mean to live again? Like, we're literally having to come back to that stage of having nothing to hold on to and actually understanding what does it mean to live on earth as an eternal being, as an expression of divinity. What does this actually mean, and how do we align our lives with this higher purpose, this higher realization, to the values of our higher self, but also of our physical bodies, these beautiful vessels that we've been given and channels of the divine? How do we live in complete alignment, in complete harmony? So there is so much of life yet to explore and to experience that we're actually just getting started as we pass through, furthermore, the dark night of the soul to the other side, and in perfect time and perfect ways to realize the excitement of this fucking adventure of life on earth is way more wild, way more beautiful, way more loving than you could ever imagine. And how crazy it's been to feel stuck in fear, or doubts or all of these emotions like of worry and the anxiety that can build in us, forcing us to like freeze up and forcing us to want to hide from the world and just like curl up and give ourselves this moment of safety, this moment of support, and this allowance to just be, this allowance just to breathe and to not feel the pressures of everything around, because we're able to actually trust in it and to be at peace through it all. So thank you for taking this time with me. Hopefully you've gained something on this walk, which became quite circular in itself. We walked around this field a few times and didn't get to dance much, which I often like to try to do if I have the awareness to dance more. But yes, I'm grateful to enjoy this day, this beauty with you. And thank you. If you want to subscribe, to like this video, to spread the love, please do, as we are all continuing to learn and grow in relation to one another so much. Love to hear your comments. If you have anything you want to share in return to what you've gained here, or any insights, of course, would love to hear. As always, sending you lots of love because you are magic. Yeah.